Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. Several days ago, Aptera dropped their November update. Actually, I think it was on the very last day of November they dropped their November update. And it was a pretty big update, so I thought we'd watch it together and discuss in the comments what you guys think, and I'll tell you what I think as I'm watching it.
Hey Aptera fans, it's Chris. The team here in San Diego and our team in Italy have made lots of progress in the last month. And we want to show you some of the progress today. Last month, we shared that over 60% of our body structures for Aptera have been produced and validated. This month, we're excited to tell you that our biggest and longest lead.
Okay, so this is a rendering of the tub. This is not the actual tub, but this is the part that, remember they talked about the die could not be made by CPC. The die was so big that they did not have the CNC milling equipment to make the dies. So another company had to do it. Now CPC is still making the part. They're pressing it out. But they were not able to make the die, and that's what wasn't done. And this is the biggest piece of it.
Body part, the tub, has been completed at the CPC.
Okay, so this is the actual physical tub. This is not a rendering. This is a picture, a video.
Factory. They used their huge 5,000 ton press. It's a key structural part which the rest of the vehicle is built from. This is one of the largest carbon fiber SMC parts ever, and it's a huge accomplishment by the CPC group. The die to produce this consists of over 100 metric tons of hardened steel.
Okay, he said 100 metric tons of hardened steel, and I thought this has got to be superbly. So I did some math using the density of steel and a block of steel that would be probably 10 feet long, 6 feet wide, maybe 4 feet tall. If you do the volume, that is easily actually a low estimate for the size. So it's crazy. It's 100 metric tons of steel. 100 metric tons is about what a 757 jet weighs, and about what a 1,600 square foot house weighs. So it is a ridiculous amount of steel that they milled out to make this. So it's kind of mind-boggling actually.
Steel. And Steve is in Italy right now checking up on CPC's progress. What's the latest, Steve?
Good morning, everybody. From Modena, I'm here with Thomas Vecchi. He's the general manager of CPC, and we're sitting in the first pressing of the tub of the new Aptera with most of the structural pieces in place. Now, there's something special about this tub, Thomas. Tell us about it.
Well, what is special? It's entirely in carbon fiber, so especially in these moments where the lightweight is super important for the autonomy.
Okay, so this part is not part of the tub. This is a separate piece, and here's where the tub starts. But you can see how they've made the moldings, like the parts, they lock together, they fit together perfectly, which is going to make this thing extremely rigid and pretty easy to put together, I think.
Of a vehicle, for the safety for a vehicle. And but not only is entirely in carbon fiber, it's made with a process that is a forging process, a press, so that we are sure 100% that every part is identical one to the other during production. So we're expecting very high volume. For this reason, we use the material.
And here's the hatch.
So that is very friendly.
I'm not sure what this is. I think it's just a piece of tape that they didn't get out.
Friendly to the automatization of the process. So it's carbon fiber SMC. We don't have scrap of raw material. This is very, very important for sustainability. We can obtain ribs, commoded inserts. We can do whatever shape we want. And by the way, this is the biggest part CPC has ever done during its, long career within this new process. And the part is nearly 3 meters long, and it was a challenge. We made it, the tool is working, and now we can produce literally one of these parts every 12 minutes. That is, for the future of carbon fiber, a very good result.
One every 12 minutes, that's like, if you run the numbers, that's about 10,000 a year with regular cycles. I think if they ran the factory 24/7, they could get more than that. And you can see here in the background, these are the various Aptera parts. Like, tell me what you guys think these are. This definitely looks like the door to me, and I'm not real sure what these parts are. So you can see the difference between the CF SMC, which is the carbon fiber, and the regular fiberglass SMC, which is the white parts. So the white parts are fiberglass SMC, and those are the more cosmetic parts that you're going to see, and the structural parts are the carbon fiber. And I think a lot of the cosmetic damage will be done, in minor accidents. They'll be done in, the damage will be to the SMC parts, which are pretty easy to fix. Fixing fiberglass is a pretty well-known thing. Carbon fiber can also be fixed, but if you had a large impact, my guess is that you're gonna have to replace the structure of the thing. I'm not sure, but that's just my guess. If you have a big enough impact to damage the structure significantly, that you would have to replace it. But like the front, you could probably replace that part. And then the relatively minor impacts that damaged it aesthetically, those are going to be pretty easy to fix, I think.
Now, you sent me pictures of you guys unloading the tool to make this just a couple of days ago, and you're already pressing the parts, but it looked like there was a crane, a truck, and a lot of effort to get, that's like one of the biggest tools you have to get that in your tool shop. But apparently it fits okay because it was able to print this out or to forge this. Now, when we think of, you've been in the automotive business your whole career. You've seen how the vehicles are built. Typical body in whites have hundreds of parts. What's so special and different, or in comparison rather, about this vehicle versus the way regular cars are built?
Well, what we're seeing is in the latest years is that you're trying to reduce as much as possible the amount of components that you need to build a vehicle. Why? Well, it's quite simple. One is simplicity. The second is literally the managing the supply chain, because less components means less suppliers, means not having to send SQEs all around the world. So this is something we started working on 10 years ago, and we have other examples on the market that we have worked on. But Aptera literally is the refinement of all this experience of the last 10 years in one vehicle. But this vehicle will be made of 8 to 9 components bonded together, but the tub is a typical example. You have literally a good 20% of the vehicle done in one part. It normally would have been done of 200 parts welded together in steel, aluminium, and other exotic materials. And we did it different. We did it just one component that makes and has, the function of, like, as you can see in here, you got ribbing, you got cables that can pass through this component. You got all the fixing of the interior of the component. At the same time, you're managing the seats. So it's all in one.
I mean, you've got places for high voltage cables, for low voltage cables already molded into the tub. Everything is positioned and tooled, so things that bolt up to it just go into the exact place without any fuss.
Yeah. So that is kind of, I think it's really amazing how they kind of matched up with CPC. That was a very fortuitous partnership that they did, because CPC had been working, like he says, for the past decade on reducing part number and trying to make vehicles with larger pieces that fit together. And then Aptera, they said, oh, that's what we want to do. And CPC is using Aptera kind of as a proof of concept, because they've been trying to push this. And I think traditional vehicle makers have been less, when you've been doing things a certain way, you're less likely, you know that the way you've been doing it is working. So you're less likely to try new things. But Aptera has not been making things the regular way. And they're like, yes, this sounds great. And like he said, like the tub is 20% of the vehicle in one piece. And it used to be 200 pieces. And if you go back and look at these things, they've built in the cabling, and they've built in all the different ways that the things fit together. You can see like they interdigitate so that there's only kind of one way that they fit together. And that'll make things, and you can tell, they just pushed out this part. And when I talked to Jason about this pressing process and to Chris about the pressing process, one of the technical difficulties is controlling the temperature, because it seems like you have to really control the temperature of the dies very well. And so getting the temperature right and stable throughout a 100 metric ton piece of steel, that's got to be quite a bit of engineering and and thought that goes into that, and they successfully did it within days of getting the piece, which means that, you know, these guys obviously know what they're doing, and they wanted to get this shot for the November update, and so they, you know, you can tell they have not trimmed anything. This is they kind of just roughly put it together, and even roughly put together, you can see how well it fits together.
Think of the interior.
Okay, so we're gonna, yeah, so there's all these little, you can see all the little parts. They've designed every little piece of this, and then, and look, they haven't even had time to like take off the flashing, the little edges, and this is the waste that comes out of it, and they talk later on about how they manage that waste.
So things that bolt up to it just go into the exact place without any fuss. So instead of having to make that for a bunch of stamp parts, it's one part. So that's fantastic. Now, I know you guys just pulled this out, so there's flashing on everything, but you guys don't just throw away the flashing when it's trimmed. It actually goes back into an area to be recycled and reused in other applications.
So this is the future of carbon fiber, will be the recycling of the fibers. So why? Because you can impregnate them once more with new resins, but the fiber that is, let's say, the heart of the material is saved and recycled up to 5 times. So even this for the future is very important. And yes, as you said, this is all this deflash. We didn't even have the time to take it away because during your visit, we wanted to show you where we are. But naturally, the next process will be the CNC machining. Then after that, we will be doing the controlled assembly of this vehicle, so the bonding. And it's not assembled mechanically, it's assembled by bonding, like Formula One vehicles. That is a lot safer due to the fact that you have more surface to connect 2 components compared to just a welding that is on the perimeter of 2 components.
I mean, and this is something that you guys are doing already with all the different vehicles that you build. Yes. So across all kinds of different lines, you guys are using a very similar process, and this is just the result of all those years you've culminating into one vehicle. So just for the viewers, I want to show them, we're sitting way far up so we can see the camera. But if I sit back where the seat is, it's actually, I mean, it's very big inside. I did not realize we have all this room.
Yeah, that when I first saw them, I thought, oh, it looks a little cramped, but then I realized that they were sitting way up front. And when they sit back, you can see around Steve how much room there is. And, you know, briefly, they talk about recycling. And so another interesting thing is that Mitsubishi now owns a large proportion of CPC, and Mitsubishi makes carbon fiber for these carbon fiber type things, the raw carbon fiber that gets mixed in with the resin to make these layups. And those carbon fibers are very energy intense to build. They're very carbon intense. They are carbon fibers, but they take a lot of energy, and they're built from petroleum. So you have to use petroleum to build it. And so you want to reuse that carbon fiber as much as possible. So they can burn away the resin, or they have some way of getting the resin off of it and remixing the carbon fiber to use it again. They said they can use it up to 7 times before the carbon fiber, I think, is chopped up too much and it doesn't become very structurally useful.
So it's going to be really exciting to see it.
And the other thing is, yeah, they talk about how they've been doing this exact process with Formula One cars, and obviously CPC has been, you know, making vehicles with like Koenigsegg, McLaren, Lamborghini, Ferrari, all these supercars. So they're using the same bonding process as used in those supercars.
Thomas, thank you very much for you and your team for making this happen. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. The team is gearing up to assemble the entire body in carbon, or BINC as we like to call it, with the...
So this is obviously a rendering, but this is what it's supposed to look like. And so we're hoping that they're going to have this thing done physically. They now have all the parts, and over the next several weeks, they're going to build the thing, and they'll ship them over. And so I'm thinking sometime in January, they will have this physically in San Diego. I'm trying to, so I was supposed to go visit them in November. Things didn't work out. They got really busy. And then December is just way too busy for me on my end. So I couldn't see them in December. So I said, okay, we're going to have to schedule for January. And I'm trying to schedule it for a time when this physical entity is in San Diego so I can show it to you guys when I go visit them. So hopefully that works out. Maybe mid to late January when that happens.
Goal of having the first of many production intent vehicles completed over the next few months. Here in San Diego, our solar team has been building production intent solar panels. A not so well kept secret is the new material our production intent solar panels are made with. It's glass. To showcase the lamination method, we've made a solar hood.
Okay, this looks awesome. The solar panels I saw at Fully Charged were the plastic ones, and you could see little scuff marks. And I really had some doubts about how well that would last over many, many years. Just because scratching from dust and dirt in the environment, and glass is just going to be a lot more scratch resistant than this. But I thought glass was too brittle, but you can see from the way he handles this thing, it's actually quite flexible and seems pretty robust.
For our Gamma vehicle.
And look at this thing, it looks awesome.
This panel is producing 75 watts of power as we speak.
You see none of the delamination, and this just looks way, way better than the plastic one that they had before.
And the proprietary glass it's made with has extreme scratch protection, an incredible finish, and exceptional impact resistance. The best part, the solar panels are a whopping 40% lighter than before.
Yeah, so you can see it's like pretty strong, but pretty flexible. And
in other exciting news, we now have less than 500 priority delivery slots left in our accelerator program.
So basically, towards the end, Chris talks about how the timeline is very difficult to say because they don't know their funding situation yet still. So they have enough funding to make these PI builds, to do the testing and the validation, the crash testing and all that other stuff. And they can hand build cars and send them slowly out to the people. So I think that's their plan. And if they don't get funding, that's what they're going to do. They're going to hand build cars slowly. But it's going to take them like years to get through 2,000 accelerator vehicles, much less the 48,000, however many orders they have. It's just not going to work. It's going to take them decades to get through that backlog if they hand build them. So eventually they do need to get big funding to go into large scale production. But they can't do it because they don't have the money to go to large scale production. They have enough money to go to small scale hand built construction, but they're not going to be able to run a viable business that way. And but they have some good news here.
Timing. However, things are moving steadily along. We have several term sheets signed with excited potential investors to get us to the funding we need for high volume production.
Okay, so he said that they've signed term sheets. Now, me not being a finance person, I did not know what a term sheet was, so I looked it up. So a term sheet, from what I can gather, is a non-binding document. It's kind of like a letter of intent. So what it is a very short document, usually 5 to 10 pages long, and it's not very long, and it basically says, here is the basic things we agree on. And with they agree to the basic things. And then after they sign the term sheet, that's when they do the due diligence, look at the financials. And then they draw up like the huge, 50, 100-page contract that just goes into the nitty gritty and says all this other stuff. But basically the term sheet is what determines what the major things that they agree on. And what I didn't realize is the term sheet is usually created by the investor. So the company does not make the term sheet. So the investor who's interested in funding the company comes up and gives them the term sheet and says, here's the terms that I'm willing to agree with to do the funding. And the things that they talk about is they like what their liquidation preferences are, board seats that they get, what kind of control do they get over the company, what kind of valuation do they think the company is, what percentage of the company are they going to own, that kind of stuff. And that once those major things are agreed upon, then you sign the term sheet. At the point that you sign the term sheet, you're saying, hey, as long as the due diligence works out, we're going forward with this. I guess it's sort of like when you buy a house. You say, okay, we're going to buy the house, but we have to make sure the house inspection goes well, and I can get a mortgage and this, that, and the other. You intend to buy the house. The seller intends to sell you the house as long as everything kind of works out. So you're pretty close to the end. It's not finalized. But if they've signed term sheets with several investors, that sounds like a good sign to me. Those of you guys that know more about finance and term sheets, please let us know in the comments below how you understand that statement. But I took that as very good news, and they are definitely moving forward, and they have the pieces. CPC has all the things. They're going to start building them over there, and then so they should have a built physical body that they're going to ship over to us in the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully it'll arrive sometime in January. I'm hoping early January, but maybe it'll be mid, maybe it'll be late January. But I'm trying to time my visit then. All right. Well, thanks for watching this with me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have a great day, everyone.